Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Neeti Goyal, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, Indira Gandhi National College, Ladwa, District, Kurukshetra. Today we are going to discuss multinational enterprise challenges to human resource management. Learning outcome. After completing this module, the students will be able to know complications involved in IHRM, major issues of global workforce challenges faced by HRM in multinational company. Selling products and services in global marketplace is still easier than employing a global workforce to make that happen in each country. With the growth of international business, the organizations are spread across different countries and hence need workforce to manage their diverse range of operations. These workforce differ with respect to their background, culture and other factors and hence need to be managed by integrating these changes. Internationalization of business has greatly influenced the HR function of the firms than any other function. With the changes in organizational structures, nature and scope of business operations, development of technology and communications and wider markets, HR practices have also undergone substantial changes. With the growth in multinational enterprises, global transferring is increasing, such as sending works between team members of the company based everywhere over the world. In addition, through this trend, diversity is increasing within the organization and multiculturalism must be carefully considered by the organization to utilize its human resources effectively, as the capabilities and the knowledge incorporated in an organization's human resources are the key to success. Human resource management is crucial to the survival, performance and success of the enterprise. In a competitive scenario, effective utilization of human resources has become necessary and the primary task of every organization is to identify, recruit and channel competent human resources into their business operations for improving productivity and functional efficiency. Employing foreign workforce to carry out the operations of a multinational enterprise poses many challenges for the company. Multinational firms will face several challenges from both the nature of work as well as the future workforce. HR managers need to understand major future demographic, technological and societal shifts and then prepare themselves accordingly. What are the complications for IHRM compared to HRM? First one is culture and communication. The change in environment from one workplace to another needs adjustment with the new aura. One needs to adjust with the new culture and communication. Second is labor law conflict. There are different regulations with regard to labor law in different countries. An MNC has to adhere to the laws and regulations of the countries where it operates while following the organizational policy uniformly. For example, in some countries, labor laws are such that employees can be terminated anytime without reason, but in others, such practices are strictly prohibited. Third is the talent gap. Filling the talent gap for highly skilled in itself is a challenge. Leveraging the international talent pool is a big challenge. Fourth is interest conflict. There may be situations where interest of the employees who belong to other countries may come in conflict with the organizational goals. It is important and challenging to reconcile such conflicts. Challenges faced by human resource management in multinational company. The function of HR department is not just restricted to the typical HR functions, but they also need to tackle the emergent issues which arise out of operating in the foreign environment. The various challenges faced by human resource management in multinational company are cultural factors. Cultural factors differ widely from country to country. Each country has its own culture and ethnic diversity. Due to such diversity, there is a potential for conflicts of values, but there also exists opportunity to learn and expand. HR policies cannot be followed uniformly throughout the organization. People from different countries also have different attitude towards work. They have different expectations with regard to work and leisure, flexibility in holidays and work timings. HR practices tend to be adapted according to each country, keeping the overall organizational policy in mind. For example, Japanese culture is a culture of collectivism, while American culture is an individualistic culture. Japanese expect job security, which is not there in American culture. These cultural differences have widespread HR implications. HR practices need to be adapted according to the local culture, and cultural differences also suggest that the employment of host country nationals for effective functioning, as they can better understand the cultural sensitivities and are more likely to manage the company successfully. It is a challenge for an HR manager to manage a diverse group of people. There are differences among people, and these differences become a major concern when these people come from different backgrounds. He has to protect the group concerns and also to protect the minority. He needs to make a right choice of people by avoiding stereotypes in his selection. Cultural shock. Being aware of cultural differences and having the ability to deal with them is integral to ensuring a successful international assignment. Culture shock is a natural state of psychological and physical disorientation that is experienced by an expatriate on entering a new environment and culture. Because of difference in culture, an employee is unable to find any social support network, and he do not find any outlet for frustration, and these contribute to feelings of culture shock. Culture shock may lead to feelings of fear, helplessness, irritability, and disorientation. Cultural shock may be experienced by an employee working in another culture, even on a short-term basis, even for a month or a week. Culture shock may be experienced even at the place where similar culture exists. For example, business culture of UK and US are similar, but an employee relocated from UK to US may even face cultural shock because of nuances and behaviors which may be taken as rudeness or disrespect. Reverse culture shock. Reverse culture shock is the cultural shock experienced by an international assignee on their arriving back to their home culture after a long time spent working in another culture. When an employee returns to the home culture after a long time spent abroad, he feels difficult to adjust to his home culture, as he could not think there might be problems in readjustment. He thinks everything would be as usual as he left. He does not realize that things would have changed and life has moved, and people would have stopped missing him in their routines. These things get difficult to accept after he returns home. No one is interested to listen to his stories of work experience abroad. This can cause him to either become frustrated or depressed. To deal with the effects of reverse culture shock, an employee should plan and prepare for homecoming in the same way as for departure. Accept the reality that things do not remain static, they have moved on. Share experiences of living abroad with people having international assignment experience who can find interest in employees' experiences abroad. Meet with his manager or team to make them know his new competencies and awareness. This will enhance confidence. Understand the impact home return on his family. It might not be easy for them to accept him in the same way with their changed routines and lifestyle as is expected from them by the returnee. Plan trips to other cultures so that he can be in touch with it. Training for repatriation can help understand potential cultural, social, and work challenges of returning to home culture and also provide information on recent changes and developments in the home country and helps integrating into the organization. Expatriation challenges. Expatriation and repatriation of managers and skilled workers is frequently required in international business operations. Employee satisfaction with expatriation and repatriation is critical to the success of MNCs because these employees often play a pivotal role in managing and coordinating the operations of extended enterprise. Selecting, training, compensating, and reintegrating expatriate managers is a challenge in itself. A prominent issue in the international staffing is expatriate failure, which means the premature return of an expatriate manager to his or her home country because of an inability to perform in overseas assignment. The cost of expatriate failure is very high for a company. It costs company both directly and indirectly. The direct costs include salary, training costs, and travel and relocation expenses. In addition to finances, the early returns can be also costly for MNCs with respect to goodwill and reputation. Indirect costs may be considerable and may include damaging relation with the host country government and other local organizations and customers, loss of market share, damage to corporate reputation, and lost business opportunities. Legal challenges. Every company needs to comply with the rules, regulations, and laws of the country in which it operates. All these compliances pose a challenge to the MNE as each country has its own laws and regulations, which may vary dramatically from country to country. HR activities of the organization have to be chalked out accordingly. An HR manager has to comply with such legal obligations as employment equity, laws relating to human rights, safety legislation, working conditions. An HR manager must have knowledge of the rules and regulations of each country in which it operates. Also, the ignorance of law is no excuse. Any ignorance may put the entire organization into deep trouble. Ethical challenges in HRM. Challenge relating to the use of ethics. One of the biggest ethical challenges facing an MNC is whether organization should use the same ethics in the host country as it applies for the home country operations and not take into account the culture of the host country and the business practices followed there. To understand this better, take an example of a situation of a host country where bribery is common practice, child labor is used, but in their home country situation is totally opposite. Managers in their country follow ethical practices of non-bribery and do not employ any child labor. In this case, what a manager should do? Should he follow the ethical practices of his home country, or should he take shortcuts and follow the host country's culture and make profit? The manager can take any one of the options here. He can work as an ethical relativist. He can work according to the norms of the host country and can indulge in bribing the officials or employ child labor. Work as ethical absolutist. Second option available with him is to work as ethical absolutist and use the same business ethics as he would do in the home country. He will give primacy to one's own cultural values. Work as ethical universalist. Third, he can work as ethical universalist and follow the fundamental principles of right and wrong, which has no relation to the national boundaries. Such a manager will take only ethical decisions which are right fundamentally. He does not make any compromise with the ethics. The need for international accords and corporate codes of conduct has grown commensurately with the spread of international business. Translating ethical practices and values into practice in the international business domain is an enormous task in the absence of a supranational legislative authority. Bribery and corruption. Bribery and corruption are the topmost ethical problems or challenges that are being faced by international HR managers. Bribery refers to offering something, usually money or money worth, to the officials in exchange for an illicit advantage. It is not gifts or grease payments. Grease payments are the payments to motivate agents to complete a task they would routinely do in the normal course of their duties. Corruption involves behaviors on part of officials in the public and private sectors in which they improperly and unlawfully enrich themselves or those who are close to them. Some managers are in favor of bribing the officials and consider it must for business, while others disfavor bribery. Bribery undermines equity, efficiency, and integrity in public service, shakes public confidence in markets, adds to the cost of products, and may affect the safety and economic well-being of general public. Managers involved in international business activities face many of the same ethical issues as those in domestic business, but the issues for MNC become more complex because of different social, economic, political, cultural and legal environment in which MNEs operate. Non-government organizations. NGOs play a vital role in influencing the strategies and decisions of MNEs. Many MNEs have also experienced anti-globalization protests and rallies against them by the NGOs. NGOs have also become internationalized and make deep influence on MNEs. This diversity of their activities and focus across a range of industries illustrates the impact and influence of NGOs, which will continue to be of importance to the activities of MNEs. Tackling with such issues require the intermediation of the HR department. Corporate risk management. Challenges in an uncertain world. Safety, security and counterterrorism. Earlier, domestic and international human resource managers have been responsible for legal compliance and training issues related to safety in the workplace. As national and international regulations related to workplace safety expanded, corporate risk management measures were specified. Risk categories associated with natural disaster protocols, emergency and disaster preparedness plans for MNE plant and facilities, workplace violence policies, industrial theft and sabotage protocols, and hardening individual facilities to enhance in-house securities have emerged. These responsibilities have not been specified as the responsibility of HR managers, but they are usually assigned these responsibilities to make arrangements to manage such risks. For example, the kidnapping of an executive, a natural disaster impacting a key facility or an airline. They need to arrange staff to manage such risks. Also, they need to manage the emerging risk categories relating to cyber terrorism, political terrorist groups targeting specific firms and industries, and the risk inherent in epidemics. International compensation challenges. The compensation programs of MNEs must maintain the one culture, one company culture, and taking care of regional requirements as well. For successful implementation of compensation program, HR professionals must be familiar of the taxation issues, legal issues, security laws and foreign currency fluctuations, employment laws of each and every country where the company carries out its operations. He should be able to spot common areas of non-compliance and know when to seek out the local experts. Moreover, the socio-economic conditions of the country have to be taken into consideration while developing a compensation package. It is easy to develop the compensation package for the parent country national but difficult to manage the host and third country nationals. When a firm develops international compensation policies, it tries to fulfill some broad objectives. The compensation policy should be in tune with the structure, business needs, and overall strategy of the organization. It should aim at attracting and retaining the best talent. It should aim at enhancing employees' satisfaction. It should be clearly understandable to the employees and should also be convenient to administer. The employee also has a number of objectives that he wishes to achieve from the compensation policy of the firm. These are to get properly compensated against competency and performance level, to get appropriate financial gain for his own comfort and for his family too, to get due consideration to his present and future needs including children's education, medical protection and housing facilities. The policy should be progressive in nature. Compensating expatriate managers can be a complex process because factors such as differences in currency valuation, standards of living, lifestyle norms and so forth must be taken into consideration. The following must also be taken into account while designing compensation packages. Cost of living allowance may be given to managers to offset differences in the cost of living in home and host countries. A hardship premium, also known as foreign service premium, may be paid to managers who accept assignments in relatively unattractive locations. Special benefit packages that may be provided to expatriate managers include housing, education, medical treatment, travel to the home country and club memberships. It is hardly possible to apply company's existing equity compensation plan to the entire organization uniformly across the globe context without adjusting for local tax and employment laws. For example, in some jurisdictions, there is no discrimination between part-timers and full-time employees in eligibility provisions for the plans. Similarly, US laws do not discriminate on the basis of race, gender or age. Governments in new jurisdictions may also demand for some unexpected and significant disclosure and compliances, additional pension contribution expenses and increased severance obligations. HR managers thus need to understand the legal issues and the differences within each jurisdiction where it operates and should also maintain detailed records of where and when each employee is located and when they are located for ensuring better compliance. As we can see in the figure, international compensation include variety of things to be taken care of. These include taxes, salary, benefits, long-term benefits, allowances, incentives. Employee relocations. In order to manage the global operations, companies deploy the requisite talent from one location to another. Companies also create some relocation models in a way to reduce their costs. For applying any relocation model, a company needs the entire details such as current location of the employee, duration of such location, responsibilities connected to an employee's relocation, and should also have a solid knowledge of the laws in the deployment country to determine which structure is the best fit for situation and to account for any potential corporate or employee tax risk. It is important to ensure equity in the compensation of employees. Employee severance. In many jurisdictions, the concept of employment at will do not apply. An organization cannot swear from an employee just by giving a notice. For this, employees must chalk out strict statutory notice and severance requirements when dealing with a departing employee. In some jurisdictions, it is not possible for a company to separate an employee without a legal procedure or suit. In addition, companies must structure exit packages to avoid tax liabilities for both the employee and the company. Challenges in staffing or choosing the staffing approach. Following a right staffing approach is also a challenge in global management. One aspect in international business is to choose the right staffing approach out of the four approaches which are ethnocentric, regiocentric, polycentric and geocentric. The approach followed by the firm determines the degree of domination of the headquarters over subsidiary management and HR practices, which in turn determines the level of autonomy that subsidiaries enjoy in their management and HR practice over headquarters. Under ethnocentric approach, all key positions in headquarters as well as subsidiaries are staffed by parent company nationals. Under this staffing policy, home country policies are used in managing international activities. Polycentrism or regiocentrism approach favors managing subsidiaries by the host country nationals, and the parent company is managed by the parent company nationals. Under polycentric approach, key positions in subsidiaries are staffed by host country nationals, and those in headquarters are staffed by parent country nationals. Under regiocentric approach, key positions staffed by host country nationals within particular geographical regions. In geocentric approach, all positions, whether in headquarters or subsidiaries, are staffed by people based on merit, irrespective of their nationality. The best HR practices are adopted irrespective of their origin, and extensive use of expatriates and impatriates is made. Thus, an HR manager has to decide upon the right staffing approach according to the objectives of the firm. Maintaining equity and jobs in careers. An HR manager must maintain equity in all jobs and careers. He should not be biased in employing person of his same culture. He should avoid stereotyping. He should also avoid nepotism, which is the practice of allowing relatives to work for the same employer. Sex discrimination, the tendency for women to advance only in a limited number of functional fields within an organization. The glass ceiling, which means to prevent women and other protected class members from advancing to the executive level jobs. Efficient coordination and collaboration. It is a challenge for an HR manager to coordinate the activities of employees of an MNC across the countries where the organization operates. Employees must be synchronized in their projects and efforts, and they must collaborate on a routine basis. Coordination becomes a daunting task when different languages and long distances are involved. Retaining critical talent. Talent is scarce. An HR manager must identify and retain critical talent, that is, people who make the most difference to the organization. Critical talent may not be a manager who is holding a topmost position, but he can be a member of a team, the direct sales force, the stores manager, or the research and development professional. High turnover of talent can be dangerous. Sharing knowledge across borders. Knowledge management and sharing of knowledge across the organization is important, particularly in knowledge-based company. Management information systems, online collaboration tools must be used to share knowledge. Building of databases that easily integrate with each other is also important. Conclusion. Even the most straightforward transaction can become increasingly complex and time-consuming once cross-border employment issues and legal obligations are introduced. It is critical to acquire the right people at right time, but finding the right talent for a multinational company is a difficult task, and managing them is even more challenging. An organization needs flexible leaders who can adapt to the changes and challenges of operating in a global environment. They must be able to bring the local context and culture into their decisions and relationships within each country. A multinational company faces many legal, cultural, operating challenges of employing a global workforce. An MNC has to comply with the working standards, labor laws, social security standards of each country of its operating while maintaining uniformity in the overall company operations. Compensation programs designed for employees at companies' primary location often must be adapted to comply with the local customs while still maintaining the one culture, one company mentality. Thank you.